lot of people just basically say, you know, it's just too hard. We're not going to try this again. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep going. I am not giving up. I'm not going to sit by while more good people die and they get 24 or 48 or 72 hours of TV coverage, and then we all just say, well, there's nothing we can do until the next time people are murdered by gun violence.
Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton during a recent campaign stop in Cleveland saying it's time to get tough on guns. Mrs. Clinton seems to be renewing her push against the Second Amendment, but when you take a look at her record, it's really nothing new because in 1993 she advocated taxation of guns. Take a listen.
I'm all for that. I just don't know what else we're going to do to try to figure out how to get some handle on this violence.
For more on this issue, we welcome in the founder and president of Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist. Grover joins us tonight from Newsmax, Washington. So Hillary, here she is again, Grover, and it looks like she may want to use taxation to try and circumvent the Second Amendment.
Yes, the clip that you just showed was from her congressional testimony in 1993, her first year as First Lady. The question she was asked by Senator Bradley of New Jersey was, would you support his idea of a 25%, not $25, 25% tax on gun sales? And she said yes, and then she went on to go talk about that, and then she ended her conversation saying, and that's my personal view. The White House asked about her testimony back in 1993. Dee Dee Myers, if you remember her, said she was talking of her own views. So she was not giving you Bill Clinton's views. She was giving you her thoughts. She said 25% tax on guns is a way to discourage people, particularly low-income people, from being able to defend themselves. She thought it was a good idea. This got coverage on NBC. It was on C-SPAN, the Washington Post, and the New York Times, AP, covered it. And since then, in the last 20 years, radio silence from the establishment press or Hillary on this position of hers.
But you know,
what
Grover,
the press now needs to do.
Yeah, but here's the deal. And Mrs. Clinton is a master at saying, hey, that's old news. You're taking testimony from 2 decades ago. Aside from that clip we played from Cleveland the other day, what else has she said recently about, quote, gun violence or the Second Amendment?
Oh, well, she said she's going to do something about it, and she's talking about bringing back some of the gun regulation laws that her husband tried to pass, but hasn't been talking about her support for a 25% gun tax. One of the things we need to flesh out is to get her to fess up as to what her entire plans are, and because she has 2 people also running as very hard left anti-gun candidates in the Democratic primary, I think she's going to have to tell us the truth about her continued support for a 25% federal tax on guns, and that will help the American people understand that she truly is the person who has contempt for gun owners and would as president. This is her statement going back 20 years. She's never altered it. She now has to answer the question, if you're not for it now, why'd you change your mind? Why should we believe you've changed your mind?
Grover, we have a little less than 3 minutes left, and obviously you're always concerned about taxes and seeing taxes increase. After all, you're president of an organization calling for tax reform. Now, speaking of reform, a different kind of financial picture, Mrs. Clinton and her campaign unveiling a package for campaign finance reform, pledging to push for more transparency when it comes to political donations. Do you believe there is any merit or any truth in her proposal?
If she really wanted transparency and campaign finance reform, she would require that public sector unions, which take not voluntary but compulsory union dues in many cities and many states, and spend it without any approval by workers in the public sector. That's the biggest black money that's spent, dark money that's spent in politics, where they take it by force, spend it the way the union bosses want. That needs to be ended the way they did in Wisconsin, where they said all union dues have to be voluntary. No one should have money taken from them and spent on politics, except Hillary Clinton is owned by the labor union bosses, so she wants to regulate everybody else's contributions except labor unions and trial lawyers.
Grover, about a minute and a half left, and we saw some video from that recent campaign event in Cleveland. A little different twist. When I was a candidate, you had a pledge for me to sign about not raising taxes. But Hillary flipped a pledge, a loyalty pledge, from attendees entering her rally. With the minute that remains, your take on Mrs. Clinton's loyalty pledge from followers.
Look, she should be running a campaign, not a cult. She should be explaining to people why they should vote for her, not getting them to commit to vote for her before she talks to them. The taxpayer protection is for elected officials promising voters, the American people, if you give me power, I won't misuse it by raising your taxes. I'll reform government, which is a pledge she's not willing to take, but she wants to bind other people to support her regardless of what goes on. If I was her, I'd get those pledges now before she has to answer questions about her tax policy.
Given where she's headed in the polls, there may be a method behind the seeming madness having people sign those pledges, as disjointed as it seems. Grover Norquist from Newsmax Washington tonight. Sir, you have our thanks. Now, you heard what Grover had to say. Your reaction to Hillary and taxing guns and Hillary with a loyalty pledge? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments, and we'll be right back.